This is Justin West from Podcast Portugal. I'd like to welcome Fiona. She is the French Fadista, and this is going to be a really nice, interesting one. I'm going to hope and try to convince Fiona to actually maybe even sing us a little bit of Fado. I'm not sure. Let's see if she will go for that. But for sure, we're going to talk about her journey, and quite an interesting one, because Fado is, from my understanding, is a traditional Portuguese type of singing or song or performance, and Fiona is actually French. So it's going to be very interesting to see and understand how she got attracted to the Portuguese Fado singing. Fiona, a really warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much for welcoming me. Very happy to be here.
No, that's exciting. I've listened to a lot of your songs, and I've done quite a bit of research, and so let's delve into the first question. You describe yourself as French by heart, Portuguese by soul. Can you tell us more about your journey into the world of Fado? And actually, maybe many of the listeners may not know what Fado is, so we could probably start even more basic like that. And then what drew you to Fado?
I've always been quite multicultural. I'm French for sure, and I have been reflecting my Frenchness in all the places I've been living, from London, Singapore, Milan, and now basically Lisbon. But I definitely felt that Fado was resonating with me. And so this is why I'm saying that I'm Portuguese by soul, because Fado is actually about reaching the soul. And it's a type of music that means actually fate in Portuguese. And it's really, I think it's not about really the words or the understanding of the language. It's really about the melody, the music, and the way actually it's creating an experience that truly connect people, whatever language they talk, whatever culture they come from. And so it truly opened me a gate basically to the Portuguese culture, because even if Fado for me is very universal, and we can talk about it, it truly has a Portuguese essence. And I think it's revealing also a different side of what Portuguese essence is basically.
I mean, my personal experience of Fado, a group of friends, Portuguese friends, took me to a bar in Raposeira in the Algarve near Sagres, and for a Fado night. And I as like a tourist, I bought a big caneca of cerveja, and sat there. And halfway through the Fado performance, I realized I was just crying. There was tears coming out of my eyes, and I had no understanding why, because I didn't understand Portuguese to that moment. But the sound was just so melancholic. It was so emotional. It was a real roller coaster. I mean, really.
Yeah, that's a great example, that if you could feel it this way, it's exactly this proof that it's not about words, and it's really the fact that people expose themselves so much, and there is this type of very raw connection, because silence is everything in Fado basically. Like, you will never it's the crowd that is the most careful about listening, because it's so important to have this atmosphere and respect basically the focus on the singing, that actually it really align everyone on the same level. So that's how it creates this kind of magic atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because we're talking about how that the Fado resonates universally, even with the audiences outside of Portugal. I think we all have experiences of Fado, even though we might not know it, that we've probably heard it at some point in time.
Yes, exactly. I think it's putting a word in some way, in some type of emotions,
mm,
uh, and in how music can actually at some point really talk to you and really connect people around you, wherever they come from. But yeah, most of people have no idea about Fado. That's for sure in the
mm.
world.
Do you know where the roots of Fado comes from? The history.
So actually, it's not such a late. Sorry, it's not very a very ancient type of music. It actually comes from the 19th century. I mean, the term fado, let's say, but it has a lot of mixed origins. So people will say they come from the undergrounds of like Lisbon neighborhood, and like poor neighborhood, prostitutes, and so on. It also like bringing a lot of imaginary from the sea, from the markets. So it's also bringing a lot of things from the reality of people basically, but it also has some roots from Brazil. Some people will say, and also like in the music itself, you can definitely feel some Arabic, Jewish heritage.
Mm.
So it's really full mix also of the history of Portugal that you may not really see, but you would definitely listen into the different melodies. So if even if Fado is from the 19th century, definitely the music is coming from earlier.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating to. It was just the other day I was tracing the origins of the clavaquinho, the small guitar. Like in Hawaii,
Yes.
they call it the I've forgotten the name of it now. The ukulele guitar, and it actually comes from apparently from what I've read, it comes from the original Portuguese clavaquinho.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently, and I was wondering, well, so how did the ukulele, how did that little guitar end up in in Hawaii? But then I didn't realize, but there was something like 170,000 Portuguese immigrants moved to Hawaii back in the 19th century or 18th century or something like that, very
Mhm.
early to work on the sugar plantations. A lot of them came from Madeira and Azores, and they went to work there. And obviously, maybe a lot of the music came from the fields, and a lot of the music with that particular instrument, anyway, sort of also became part of Hawaiian culture as well. So it's just really fascinating to trace these
Yes.
elements of how music spreads and into different cultures. Like you were saying, I definitely hear some Arabic music in there. I'm also a big fan of I'm also a big fan of flamenco. I can't help just scrolling through Instagram and listening to when suddenly they break out in somewhere in southern Spain. They suddenly break out in the town, all singing and clapping the flamenco, excuse me, rhythm, and all start sort of dance and so on. Right? I just think it's such a celebration of life. I just find it absolutely fascinating and culturally amazing, And then Fado is also so
Yeah, it has this
expressive.
expressivity that is very raw, that is not lying basically, and I think that is why it's touching people so much, is because it's really about the raw feeling, the reaction, and so you're hit by this, there's no filter. So I think you can see a lot of like inspiration also. For sure there is connection with the flamenco, also with Greek music a lot as well. And I think at the end of the day, the Mediterranean, heritage has a lot connected with Fado. As I said, like aggregating, maybe Fado is aggregating way more things that we think a bit like the Portuguese history. And for me, it's interesting because it does resonate with me from this perspective, because I am very Mediterranean. Actually, my father was born in Tunisia. Before they were in Italy. On the other side, my mother is from Algeria. Before they were in Spain. So at the end of the day, and I'm Jewish, so I have like basically all of this. This heritage is very connected to my roots, and so it's also very interesting to have a different. That's why I'm saying I'm a French Fadista, because I'm not a traditional Fadista. But at the end of the day, I'm a Fadista, but from a very different, perspective, and from a very different lecture. So it's also very interesting to see you can have, a different route to Fado that is still very connected to the same roots, but, from a different way.
Have you always been a fadista, or did you start off in your musical background? Did you start to discover and start to sing in a fado way? I guess I can explain it in.
So no, I always like to sing. I've been, in a family. My brother is playing the piano. We always had singing in the family, but I never really found my scene. And I've been, exploring very different repertoire, and that's also what I like. For me, I'm not just, fado for sure. I bring other stuff in my singing, but I did choir in London. I did musicals as well. I did a lot of theater, and I think it's very connected as well to
Mm.
the ability to share in public, to be in the performance as well. So it's a mix of a lot of things, but it is true that Fado hit me very randomly in 2018 when I came for the first time, actually, in Lisbon. And I don't know, it talked to me like extremely uh genuinely. And I felt if one day I come to live here, I will learn, as I learn different stuff. you know and so I kept that in mind. And in 2020, I came here. I was living in London for 8 years, and I came here with a company that was half Portuguese, half UK, which was the company I was working with in London. And this was my opportunity to learn, for sure, and I knew about it already. And yeah, a friend of mine, Portuguese, brought me to this place, Tasca do Chico, one of the most famous, basically fado places in Lisbon. And she said to the director that I wanted to sing, and he said she doesn't even speak Portuguese. And basically she said, no, I put in your calendar, in 1 year you will sing here.
Hmm.
And I came back several times, and I met this fado singer who I dared to ask her to give me classes. She never gave classes before, and that started this way. And basically 3 months later, she brought me to a place to train with some guitarists, and she said, "Okay, in 5 minutes you're upstairs singing." She just throw me directly on the stage, and the second time I was singing was at Tashkado Chico, so a few months later, and I was about to die. But what I mean is that they throw me, on stage, and that really the way I started, and I'm still navigating, in this community. It's still an ongoing journey, ongoing process to learn.
No, I think it's very exciting that, and I'm a full believer, and nationalism for me is a kind of crazy, a very crazy and short-sighted concept, because you cannot see, how many generations back are we talking about, because we're all so culturally connected, particularly in Europe, and the whole Mediterranean area, North Africa, the Middle East, Central. Um, and I think music both explains that history, and I think it also, we all feel it. And it's a connection between all of us spiritually. You're either aware of it, or you just feel it on a natural state, and it's very cool. But singing, I mean, fado is recognized as very Portuguese. It's Portuguese heritage. I would imagine by some people it would be part of the national heritage. Do you feel any comeback that that you are French and you are singing such a very Portuguese in such a Portuguese way, or do you bring more of a French element and flavor to the music?
Yes. So the thing is that I have learned to accept that I cannot change my identity. I'm French for sure, and I also learned to like this identity and to see it way beyond like the language. And when I say French Fadista, actually I'm a citizen of the world, really.
Mm.
When I say French, I think it's also about the attitude. It's really about this kind of audacity, this boldness, this approach of like really trying to go for it. I know that no one is expecting me and no one is waiting for me. But it's also what is really exciting and what is the challenge. It's really about creating this kind of new space between two cultures. And even if it's a very retro space, like Fado is very old school for many people, even for Portuguese people. So it's also very interesting because it's a huge challenge and huge opportunity to reinvent Fado, to like deconstruct Fado, to also like show a different side of it. I'm still very respectful of it for sure, and I know that the foundations have to be learned and have to be like you need to play the game as it is. So that's what I've been doing. I've been learning, and I keep learning like lyrics, uh, working on the pronunciation. I must say that I was almost not speaking Portuguese. I speak a bit right now, but not so well. And everything I learn is from Fado because they kept talking to me in Portuguese. But clearly, when I started, I was speaking only few words, and I was learning the lyrics by heart, of course, understanding everything, but huge challenge because it's an aggregation of a lot of layers at the same time: pronunciation, rhythm, of course, like lyrics, performance, and like and everything is in the moment. And also, that's what make it extremely exciting for me and extremely, um, yeah, like what brings me this adrenaline, because I know that if I fell on one of the layer, I can just like I can fall from the mountain directly on the moment. So it's like it's everything at the same time. It's a kind of a balance that has to happen, in the moment.
Because you have a unique approach. You're coming from another standpoint, and you're still respecting the art, but also coming from expressing it in a different way, or several layers of differences. And sometimes in that type of creativity, you allow the listener and the viewer to see things in a new way, and in sometimes maybe the traditional Portuguese fado singer will like, oh, that's a really nice lyrical interpretation there. You help people see things from another perspective. I've often sort of entertained that idea about many things, not just art, not just music, but many things. People like to see their own country from a different perspective. Is quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean there's no better reward than the Portuguese person telling you that they enjoyed, or that they tell you actually you have fado, which is
Mm.
amazing. They they say, of course you speak, you have an accent in some way and so on, but you have fado. And I think they never pronounced this sentence before, like for someone else. Like they never thought that fado could go outside of Portuguese. And that's what I feel extremely interesting, because that's such a human experience. Because and that's what I love with this, is because I get into a world that I would have never seen, and that most of people in Portugal don't see, because it's not about the tourist, market of Fado. It's really about the people that are going to listen Fado, and the people that are making Fado in the deep Portuguese, like community, and that are here for ages, ages. and that are not also dedicated to move out of where they are. They stay in their area, they stay in their district, and that's the way. And most of the fadista and very known fado singer in Portugal, they never moved from their area, or like from Portugal. They never wanted to, actually. That's why you also only have Amalia, that really exported. Amalia Rodriguez, who is the most famous fadista, exported fado really outside of Portugal. But most of them, they never wanted to leave and to go outside of Portugal.
Yeah, and I think also and I'm imagining we were talking about you not knowing so well how to speak Portuguese and having to learn the lyrics and then actually learn what the words mean. But maybe also you're reacting to the sound of the words, as music and words are the same thing. They're a sound, I guess, and you are expressing that. Um, Perhaps you don't even. Maybe you need to know what the word is to create the emotion in the performance. Uh, but it's like poetry. It's the sound of the words is just as important as actually what their meaning, possibly.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
totally.
cool.
Um, and I think that yes, it's still as I say, it's very old school. But I come from a world of innovation. I work in tech and in innovation as well, and I was leading innovation for a tech company. So and I've been an entrepreneur as well myself. So I've always been projected into the future and so on. And I feel and I know that actually, paradoxically enough, like Fado for me is a space of innovation. It's like a creative playground. It's really a space that is it has the opportunity to be transformed, to evolve without losing its essence, but that needs also to evolve to actually really keep kind of reconnect both with Portuguese and with international, because even Portuguese people today don't really feel connected to Fado. It's been so much integrated into the dictatorship, some kind of very also strong, um, conservatism and so on, that many people are actually rejecting Fado.
Hmm.
So I think that's also the very interesting part, is how to kind of clean it in some way, or kind of change the way you see it. And some Portuguese people told me, you kind of you made me peace with Fado.
Oh,
You
nice.
make me you so it's super interesting also to see that sometimes it's just you need a filter or something different to actually bring you back to the things.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really nice story. And actually, maybe we can go a little bit technical now. And you're saying that because you come from the entrepreneur space, and maybe we can go a little bit more technical now, because from all creatives, it's one of the biggest challenges that we have is, so from a technical perspective, you were saying you were from an entrepreneurial background also, and you're into technology. And I think for all creatives, there is two challenges that we face. One of the challenges is AI, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And then the second challenge is that we want to get our art and our creativity out there. We have some amazing platforms. Like, I noticed you can stream your music here on Spotify. And as a podcaster, I'm also using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and we have some technology there that helps us reach an audience. And what is your approach to it? What is your strategy? Because also as a creative, you're also successful in marketing your art, and I think this is very, very important. You can't really, these days, you cannot just be the artist and expect everybody else to to find you. You have to promote yourself, and you need to get your word out and your art and your creativity out there. And I think it's quite an important part of being a creative. Have you got any suggestions to people out there on ways of doing it?
But, I'm learning on the way. But what I think is interesting is that today, more than ever, you have the ability to create a signature. And I think this is what people will stick to, It's not anymore. I mean, of course, the music itself is important, the technique certainly, but to be honest, I'm not really a technical person. Even in Fado, I'm not like I don't have like the techniques of like Fado. I'm just like interpreting my Fado and my approach of Fado, and it's like a kind of it's my own signature basically. And I think that people want to connect, they want to relate. And I believe today, Fado is not really accessible for people. It's not very inclusive. It's not making them really relate to it. And that's also part of the standards and, the way people don't talk during each song. They don't explain. They don't, they stay very silent. And, there is a whole like kind of framework and approach. And I can break the rules because I'm not like a traditional fetista anyway. So I believe that people want this connection and they want to understand and my goal is to create this link. So that's what I'm doing in everything I do, in any communication I do, in any live performance. When I own the show, when I'm doing my own concert, it's actually a real trip, it's a real journey. I'm trying to embark people with me, and it's a bit like a stand up show in some way because I explain them like my whole experience, and we go from light to deep to joy to sadness, And I think that's what is important is to kind of make sure you can embark people with you and make them resonate. So I'm not very, technical as well in marketing. I mean, what I mean is that I'm doing the way I can right now. I'm by myself completely. But I think the best way for me is really about sharing authentic experiences, authentic feeling, and making people feel that they truly start knowing you, and it's not just about a specific music. It's also really about a specific personal interpretation, personal story.
Yeah, I mean, in talking about that and a personal story, do you have particular? Is there a group of lyrics or a particular line in a fado song that really resonates for you? Is there, or is it many songs have touched you in many different ways? Because I mean, obviously, a lot of the listeners here will not understand Portuguese, so many of the lyrics they'll react to the sound of the words, but maybe they won't actually interpret the words necessarily. But is there particular lyrics or that stand out for you?
Interesting meaning, but like one of them is called lucora, and it means folly. Sorry, it means madness. I'm talking in French. Craziness, and basically, what is about is like it starts by saying that I am from Fado, and that basically, even if I cannot talk, I know that I put my soul into it, and that people can listen and can answer me with their own souls, and then it's about the fact this it said like cry, cry, poets of my life, and we share the same roots, and even if you don't want to accept me, then there is no fado and there is no fadista as I am. So it's very like for me. Imagine when I sing this type of song in a tasca with like around me, like all these people, like Portuguese people in and Fado. It's a very strong message as well,
Mm.
That first, it's a very strong message for people who cannot understand me, and we are connected with the souls. But also, it's a very strong message for Portuguese people where I'm telling them, if you don't accept me, basically there is no Fado, and I think it's a great message. So for me, of course, it talked to me a lot.
So Fiona, like those lyrics sound absolutely fantastic. Now, as listeners, we have some idea what the words are and what they mean. Would you be willing to sing us those lyrics? I don't know if they apply to a particular song, or you can actually apply them to
Yes,
different rhythms.
it's not easy without the guitar, but we can definitely do it. So I would just think maybe yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm just like thinking at the same time. Yes, so chorai, chorai, poetas do meu país, troncos de mesma raiz, de vida que nos juntou. E se vocês não estivessem a meu lado, então não havia fado, nem fadistas como eu sou. That's it.
Wow, that's amazing, really. And to be able to just sing that on the over Zoom and sound so good. Well done. No,
Nice.
yeah, sometimes the best way, right? No, no, no. I think
Actually,
I've
it's not.
heard. I think I've heard that one before, actually.
That's good. That means you listen to the album.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're talking a little bit about you. You can listen to Into Fado. Now, this is an album that you recently released. Is that correct? So you can also people can come and listen to you in various events, and I'll leave in the show notes links to where they can get information about where you're going to play live. Also, the links to where they can stream you on Spotify. Maybe you want to talk about coming up in Paris or in on. Um,
Yes. So I will be in Paris on the 20th of May
mhm,
for a concert. So if you have any friends in Paris, let them know.
mhm.
And in Lisbon, basically, I'm doing regular dinners, dinners in some tasca. I have Airbnb experiences. So basically, people can join. It's already live on Airbnb experiences, and they can also meet at the same time. So the goal for me is really to kind of make people connect in a different way through Fado. And I organize also like private, dinners, performances for events, for team building. So for any events, and I'm always reachable for that. And I'm also doing these tech Fado dinners that you may have heard about, which are really tech business people meeting and having dinner in a unique Fado experience. So the goal for me is to bridge my two sides and make really people discover Fado and like nourish their brain, but also nourish their soul, of course. And I've been already doing about 5 of them. So we'll have more, but also open to uh, potential partners that also want to, collaborate, be a sponsor of this event, that are very curated and have usually like, startup entrepreneurs, investors, and top executives.
That's great. And also the album. When did you record Into Fado? And was there some collaborations and memorable influences there going on with that album?
So I started more than a year ago to record this album. But basically, I was not exactly ready at the time, and the sound had to be optimized and so on. And it's my meeting with other people. So I had like two great guitarists, and
The interaction between the singer and the guitarist in is quite central to Fado. Can you describe how that dynamic influences your performances? And I know in your album Into Fado, you had a very interesting and beneficial relationship with your guitarist. Is that true?
yes, for sure, totally. It's people that I knew for some time already. And of course, you're building relationship with any of the guitarist, because it's a real, like dialogue that is happening in the moment, and you need to be very agile and also very connected, because there will never be the same melody with one guitarist or the other. And also, I've learned to never expect a specific guitarist, because at the end of the day, you never know with who you're gonna play. When you go into a tasca, you never know. And many times I didn't know the guitarist, and at the beginning, it was really like creating me panic attack not to be able to train, before with the guitarist. So I was trying to force them to get out at the break to train a little bit, but actually I've started to learn that actually no, it was in the moment and things were just building up, on the go. So yeah, it's a very strong relationship. Because as I said, it's a bit like jazz in some way. Like it's a lot of there's some kind of improvisation based on how the voice is going, how the guitarist is going, and yeah, you kind of find your way at the same time.
So does the singer, do they follow the guitarist's lead, or does the guitarist sort of follow the singer, or is it like a compromise, or a mixture of both?
It's a bit of a compromise, even if, of course, the voice is kind of still leading. But still, I think that you have to be immersed, and both we are all very immersed and connected into it. So you still need to, you will be really embarked by the guitarist, So yeah, so I think it's really a dialogue. Um, there is influence on both sides, basically.
Yeah, that's very cool. I've always wondered that about music, because I'm guessing the guitar almost sings the song as well, and just in a different way, and it's like who leads, and but, well, because for me, I'm not a musician, so I'm trying to understand it and to try to picture it technically, and maybe that's the wrong approach. Maybe you just need to sort of let it flow, and fit the rhythms, and fit the
It's
timing.
It's very hard, and I knew also some people who have been very technical in opera, for instance, opera singing, and they started to try to learn fado, and they struggled a lot because as I said, it's closer for me to jazz because it's way more improvised and intuitive, let's say, than something very standardized and like, let's say, probably technical.
Hmm.
So there's, of course, the emotions are also, it's to what extent you also let your emotions um, make it accurate.
Okay, that makes quite a lot of sense, because like a lot of the time the emotions flow, and Fado often tells stories of heartbreak and longing, and destiny, and it for me, in many ways, it's like being a storyteller, I guess, and or could be a healer,
Yeah.
or could be something entirely different. And I always imagine this is what I imagine Fado to be, is I can imagine a sailor on a boat, like miles and hundreds of miles out at sea, drifting, and singing of the richness and intensity of life, which is almost absent from you. If anybody out there knows exactly what I mean, if they've sailed anywhere, sometimes you can be in the middle of the sea in the vastness, and it's very beautiful, but it's also very lonely. And I can really imagine the sailors like seeing this feeling of lost, of a heartbreak for the life that they've left. And
Yes, I agree, and I think it's also what is very beautiful with fado is that everyone has his own type of imaginary, and of the way they can see people like singing that. But I think it's kind of resonating with also your own your own like personal space, or your own like intimate secret garden. And uh, in some way, like it's a very collective experience, but it's really bringing people to their individuality. So it's also what is making it very powerful is that collectively we're all coming back to very deep sensation and deep feeling, and it does definitely resonate with some very personal side of you, or will ring bells on um, love, regrets, fears, um, sadness. They So it will always take like a different color for each of us, basically.
It's very important, and I think I was actually reading earlier that Fado has been recognized by UNESCO as part of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, which I think is really cool. Um, I think I think that says a lot about its importance. How it.
I think it's a great symbol that it's a universal thing, and also that it's a wealth. And I think that's also why Portuguese are so protective with Fado, is because it's a wealth of their country, and they really feel it this way. But I think what is very modern with Fado is that it kind of embody the space that people really need today, in terms of like a spiritual space for them to collectively like connect and reflect. Because before you had church, like you had this type of places, but less and less you have basically like spiritual space in some way. And I really believe that these Fados places are bringing this back, in a different way. But I think it creates this space for spirituality. It's a create also a space for a sense of belonging.
Mm.
uh, and this is definitely something that for me is something I want to I want to extend. I want to work further on that. Like Fado for me is not only singing; it's a whole experience. And coming from a very like also like working a lot on my side on tech with immersive experience, 3D and so on. It's very much part of my work as well. I see it really as a holistic experience. And I think that again, it's going to be a playground for more artistic creativity, and bridging also other arts that are also part of me, because theater, drawing is also part of me. So that's also why I can see it as a multidimensional, playground.
Yeah, I think it definitely speaks to our commonality and our humanity, and I think that's probably what bridges it creates bridges between different peoples, and we can come from anywhere and experience Fado and share, which I think in this day and age is very important. Um, for
Totally.
sure. Yeah.
And but also, I think a very interesting thing is that it created this word, saudade, that is a word that is only Portuguese, that you cannot translate in other language. And I think this is also why it's so universal. It's because this is a feeling that everyone can understand, but they cannot define. They cannot put a word on it. It's only this word. So, and saudade is actually a kind of peaceful nostalgia, a kind of satisfying state of being, being, yeah, nostalgic, being sad. But some people will define it as a lack that we like, or like the presence in the absence. So it's kind of this duality, very, very subtle, very complex to kind of define, but that everyone can understand. you know.
Mm.
And I think that's also the beauty of it, is that it can translate this type of very subtle mm, kind of states, and make people really obviously like feel them, you know.
Yeah, it almost goes back to that sailor on a boat. Perhaps he has a fond memory of the port that he lost, that he just left. Perhaps a girlfriend, or perhaps somewhere where he's going, which he's also excited about the adventure, but with a um, you know, a romance of where he's left. It's in being in that state in between. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also, so for me, it's super important to have this like real life connection, and how I make people meet, because I think that my essence is really about making the bridge, you know, and I want to make the bridge between France and Portugal, but actually like Portugal and the rest of the world. And I feel like my role is also to be a bridge, and that's what I'm doing also by connecting people, and that building relationship. And that's why it's so important in my signature as well, to bring people together, make them meet, make them share, as I share with them. Like, this is also uh, for me. For me, this is also the opportunity and the idea that they will share as well. So this is why I also make it very inclusive. And when I talk about when my album is called Into Fado, I think it's really this idea that I want people to embark and to get into this depth of Fado, and really understand the roots of it as well. Not like on Fado, or listening to it, but really getting into it, and also like being part of it, feeling it, living it. And that's why I believe it's also about their interaction, their interaction during these moments. Singing, sometimes, of course, I try to onboard them as well, but also like sharing with people around them, and not like being, connected, but from a very far perspective.
It's funny how as when we moved to Portugal and we live in Portugal, we have such a love for it, and that we want to connect other people to it. It's a generosity that maybe we have, and um, yeah, and you're doing it with Fado. I'm trying to do it a little bit with the podcast, trying to reach, allow voices of Portugal to reach sort of the world. Um, I'm wondering why we do that as expatriates, or I don't know what we can call ourselves, but different people that have moved and made their home and their love in Portugal. I wonder what makes us want to shout about it. I think because we love it so much, perhaps.
Yeah, and also because I think we want to express a very rich multicultural reality of it. I think we also perceive that there's so much more to share about Portugal, and there is also so much more subtlety and multiculturalism, and I don't know, like a lot of like little things also that you cannot know, and you cannot guess if you are not really living there. It's not just about exactly. It's not just about the pastéis de nata and the fado that you see in as a tourist. I think there's so much more, and it's a very interesting country that is between this very kind of retro, preserved, very simple, and the kind of uh, old school in some way country, and at the same time like having so much energy and influence from other countries, from other people. I don't know. I think it's a space for inspiration, honestly. For a lot of people that travel the world, coming here is a bit of finding their balance, finding their, their their space to settle, but also like I think almost like expressing so much that they come, they come with so much things. It's a kind of space for yeah, connecting all of these things that happened before, and see how this is also working with the country itself, you know.
Yeah, he, I notice it is quite a challenge, and I've often thought about that because we come with a great love. We also come from for things that we come with for a great love of Portugal, and we also come with other ideas and ways of doing stuff and things that we want to create, and how much is that going to affect the essence of Portugal that we fell in love with? How much do we need to be concerned about that? And I'm guessing, sort of from the point of view of Fado, it is quite a traditional way of singing, or it could be viewed as quite traditional. And there is a lot of modernism coming into the Fado world, and it's how much is that of that balance do we need to keep so that we don't forget the whole reason that we love Portugal in the first place. If I'm
Yeah.
explaining myself
No,
well enough.
it's totally accurate. I think it's a challenge, and for me, it's a challenge as well. Of course, like to be part of it and to respect it and to um, like be also credible in some way in the space, while at the same time like basically finding the right way to be able to challenge it without like changing its essence, without always having this awareness, that that the goal is still to preserve it.
Hmm. But like a
Yeah,
sensitivity to, to the art. Yeah, and
yeah,
a sensitivity to the people and to Portugal.
exactly.
And to sort of say that we're here because we love how it is and how where we are. And so please tell us if we are being insensitive. I think that's probably something
Yes,
we could ask,
exactly. Uh,
because our intention is not, often. So,
no, but it's true that it's an effort, and I think it's an effort, to speak Portuguese, to go, to adapt, to take the time also, because it's really like also a different, sometimes it's also a very different vision of time,
hmm,
and, but I think it's also where the magic is lying, so for me, I love to go into some association of like, Scuola do Fado, like Fado school that are like from the neighborhood and so on. Like here in Ajuda where I live, there's a Fado school, but it's only 80 years old people and myself basically, where I go and I try to go a bit. I cannot spend 2 hours as they do, but basically, I love to go there because of the experience. Because at the end, it's really just about connecting with them, and they're so happy that I'm here as well. And it's I know that this is a very precious moment, even if it's not like it's not a school where just like singing, everyone is singing one two songs. It's amazing because you really also get a door to, what is the reality of Portugal as well.
mm, yeah, that's fascinating. And this school is youngsters, or it's a mixed age group, or
80 years old people.
it's what 80 or 18?
80, 80,
It,
80. Like, I mean, no, I mean, it's old people
it's
coming.
old people. Okay, okay. No, because I'm just sort of wondering, like, in how many more young how does the younger generation of Portuguese, and for people that here live in Portugal, um what how do we accept fado, and how does that compare to a lot of the modern music that's coming on? Is there a group, or is there an enclave, or um how does it keep growing, and how does it keep, you know taking it to the next?
People that play fado and that are open like guitarists, for instance, they are quite young, even singers. So and they have their own way of innovating as well. Like, so for instance, it's a lot about lyrics. So basically in Fado, you may have um, a lot of songs with the same melody but different lyrics. So we call the melodies, we call them temas, and so theme, and then you have the lyrics, and it's different poems and so on. And so today, a way to modernize this temas is to change the lyrics and to make them more, like actual, like currents, basically, and up to date. And so, like some fadista, modern fadista, they do that. So of course that resonates with Portuguese people. Um, like, I think so. You have also like singers like Fadista that evolved also towards more pop music. Anamura, for instance, she's one of the top famous Fado singer. Now she's doing way more pop music, but with some, essence of Fado. You have Carminho. She's actually quite consistent and very. She keeps like a lot of the heritage of Fado, but she starts, singing also first outside of Portugal, but also like I saw her in a festival, like in a Brazilian music festival, and at the beginning in huge scene, and like with like just two like guitarists and herself. And at the beginning, I was like, I don't know how she's gonna make it. Like, it's gonna be impossible, like with a full crowd of young people and so on. And after, at some point, she started to get the crowd on board, and it's beautiful to see that, because you realize that it's a lot about like taking the crowd with you, embarking the crowd. So we'll see. You have Stereo Zorro as well, who is a DJ, very interesting, who used fado, some fado extract into his kind of electro music. So I think it's going to come more and more. And again, it's a question of balance. Where is Fado and where is starting not to be Fado anymore?
And it may
Yeah.
sound very, very ignorant, but could you sing Fado in French or could you sing Fado in English? And would it have the same effect?
Great. We were connected.
Yes.
So yes, I believe you can. Even if people will tell you, and many Portuguese will tell you, Fado is in Portuguese. I think that you can find in the melodies, and you can find Fado in the melodies. And also, it's about the interpretation and the way you position yourself when you sing as well. So I started to interpret like French classics into twisted Fado, and yes, I think it's giving a different color to the song. But I think we are entering a kind of a different space of Fado. But for me, I think it's still Fado. It's just that it's going into new territories, and that's also where it's how you keep the balance. What is interesting is that you also have like Fado songs that are truly Fado, but that have been also like famous French songs that Portuguese didn't know and French didn't know. So, for instance, the last song of my album, French Canção do Mar, so it's called Canção do Mar, but I call it French Canção do Mar. It's basically a Portuguese song that has been also in this movie, the Tascas Lovers, was the song of the movie. Very, very famous. And it's been actually a very strong, a super hit 20 years ago in France, called El Tu l'aimes, from Hélène Ségara. And so I'm singing in Portuguese, and then I sing in French. And that I can do it, and that I do it in the tasca as well, in the Fado places. And that's fine. But singing a full song in French in a Fado place, I don't think I would be able to do it if it's not my own gig.
Yeah, I mean, it actually that was something that I was thinking about. That some of the Fado singing and some of the songs really remind me I don't remember who the singer was, but in France, there's quite a famous French singer who sings in a similar stance, in a similar way. But that song, do you think you can give us a few lines of the song that maybe we might recognize it?
In in what?
And singing it.
In French or in
Well,
Portuguese?
you said you singing it in French and then you mix it into Portuguese, no?
Yes, but it's a song. But it's basically fui bailar no meu batel, além do mar cruel, o mar bramindo diz que fui roubar a luz sem par do teu olhar tão lindo. Vem saber se o mar terá razão. Vem cá ver, bailar meu coração. And then elle, tu l'aimes si fort, au point je sais que tu pourrais mourir pour elle. Elle, tu l'aimes autant, je crois que j'ai besoin de toi. Voilà, and that's it.
Hey, well, no, that was really cool because I love to hear it in the Portuguese and in French, and it sounded very suitable. It sounded very easy, and it sounded very nice. I think it's really cool.
This one was existing already. I think the next challenge is maybe translating some songs, and having your own lyrics, but
Yeah.
In French. But yeah, I think it's because the sonorities are really key,
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a good challenge.
Yeah, I don't think you could do it. I don't think it would work maybe in English. I think English is a bit of a the sounds of the words in English maybe is not as similar as French and Portuguese. I could be wrong, but I don't know. The way you were singing it there, it seemed to match and feel similar in the texture of the noise, the the sound. Yeah. Well, Fiona, I think maybe we should end on that note, and I'm going to promise all of the listeners that we're going to leave all of the links so that you can follow Fiona, follow what she's doing, where she's going to be singing, and where you can just literally go on Spotify and listen to her music and some of the songs. Fiona, you have a beautiful voice, and for me, Fado it just plays some strings deep inside that vibrate, and it's a really crazy. And I'm sure many people have the same reaction. I'm really into music, and I have a really varied musical taste, and Fado is one of the top for me. I'm really keen on like I've explored a lot of Irish music recently, and a lot of Scottish music with the bagpipes. That's another one that plays a lot on my emotions. The bagpipes, especially if you have some imagery of the Highlands of Scotland. I don't know why. I don't know, something maybe in my previous lives.
Maybe you see, like it's echoing to some of your roots in some way. Maybe
Yeah,
you never know.
well, it's very strange, but
But
I want to say a really, really big thank you, and thank you for your time, and keep in touch. I'm hopefully next time I'm up in Lisbon, I'm going to try catch one of your
please, yes. And as I said, any ideas of people who listen to us as well for performance, or like creating using Fado and in their events or experiences, don't hesitate to reach me
yeah.
as well on Instagram. And thank you so much for this, Justin. I also feel that what you do with Podcast Portugal is so precious for also, people to get a different side of Portugal, to be curious, to nourish their brain, to nourish their mind, and yes, be more open also to connect to what's going on.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think we share that similar thing, that we are conduits of hopefully of between Portugal and into other people that are willing to listen to us.
Yes.
Fiona, thank you so much, and I look forward to listening much more of your music. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Ciao. This is Podcast Portugal, saying a big thank you to Fiona and all our listeners, and over and out. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.
That went really well. Really beautiful. Thank you so much. It was very cool.
Someone tell me, please, there is a need to start.